Today on the channel is the return of the Kyle Peterson Top 5, and it's just all about the Cowboy today. Of course, you got Cowboy Kyle, you got Mike Nesmith, and you got Cowboy Bob Orton Jr.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another edition of the Kyle Peterson Top 5, a Thursday tradition here on this very YouTube channel. As every single Thursday, we're doing my top 5 and occasionally top 10 favorites of something, and today we got a cowboy in the crosshairs. We got Cowboy Bob Orton, and of course, you guys know how these top 5s work by this point. It is my top 5. Of course, put your top 5 in the comments down below. Number 5 being your least favorite, all the way to number 1 being your absolutely favorite. And as I always say, it's my list, so it's 100% right, just like your list is 100% right as well. And Cowboy Bob Orton, a little bit before my time, obviously I knew about Cowboy Bob Orton, but his heyday had really passed when I started watching wrestling. He would interweave back in and out all the way to the 2000s, teaming up with his son Randy Orton. And crazily enough, in the last couple of years, I've got to meet Bob Orton quite a few times, as my buddy that runs a professional wrestling league in the Midwest has brought Cowboy Bob Orton in. And Cowboy's been wrestling. Yeah, you heard it right. He's still throwing down. He's throwing hands on a weekly basis, I guess, at this point. But an all-timer out there, one of those guys that's very well known, of course, second-generation wrestler. At this point, mostly known to being the dad of Randy Orton. It's always funny how that works. But you always want your son to do a little bit better than you did. Sorry, Dad, disappointing you. That's the way it goes. But I know Cowboy Bob is very, very proud of his son Randall, of course, as we do know. But it is cool, and we've got a lot of Bob Orton figures over the years. Maybe not as many as we would think, but he's really hit about every single line along the way. So we got some interesting Bob Ortons and some really interesting ones we're going to talk about in this top 5. So without further ado, let's get to it. Let's start at number 5. All right, we begin the countdown, of course, at number 5. And number 5, we go to a recent line or a recent release here. We go to Mattel. We go to their retro wrestling line, the Hasbro style for Cowboy Bob Orton Jr. And when I think Hasbro style, Bob Orton isn't one of the guys that I'm like, man, he missed out on one. He really felt like he was kind of the generation prior to the Hasbros. Felt more LJNs, or even before LJNs, you could make the case for that as well. Didn't really feel like one we needed as part of course, the Hasbro infused and Hasbro styling. But at this point, they're making so many figures from so many different lines. Somebody was going to do it, so why not Mattel? And they did put him with that WrestleMania 1 pack, of course, him being a big part of WrestleMania 1. So it did work, and we did get this figure we see right here. Now, this figure itself, a good figure. Now, hat's not removable. That's kind of in line with the Hasbro style from some figures of years past. But he does got an amazing playability figure, and it's all about playability when you're a kid. It's all about playability now. But he does got the classic movements here, the bend at the arm there. All kinds of moves can be done with this Cowboy Bob Orton. Well, not what I think of necessarily first coming to who missed out on a Hasbro. I'm still happy we got this one with Roddy Piper and everybody else. So this does work for me. So much so, it comes in at number 5. We're at the number 4 spot, and number 4 could be the deepest cut of the deepest cuts, and it might not be on anybody's list but mine. But number 4, we're taking a journey over to the Jakks offices. We're taking a trip to the Ruthless Aggression era. We're taking a trip to the Treacherous Trio 3-pack with his son Randy Orton, and of course, that wily Undertaker. It is Bob Orton in his street gear, and it is old man Bob Orton from his return kind of as Randy Orton's manager, I guess, for a lack of better words. Like the looks of this one, cowboy shirt, cowboy boots, cowboy jeans on. Just what more do you want? Of course, came with a brown cowboy hat as well. Left that over there, but you get the picture here. But a very cool one, a deep, deep cut, but a very enjoyable cut. If you were watching wrestling during this time frame, he was doing blade jobs and cage matches with his son. He was doing a lot of stuff, and I've always enjoyed legends coming back for one last run or getting involved in things, and that's how I felt about this Cowboy Bob Orton. Thought it was a cool moment in time piece, and glad he got a figure from that little brief run with his son. Just a very, very cool figure, and that's why it comes in at number 4. We've hit the halfway point, number 3 spot in the countdown. You got your list together? Make sure you put it in the comments down below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this very video. Always helps the channel. You guys know that. But we're at the number 3. And number 3 comes to me from one of my all-time favorite lines, a line I love so much. I wrote a book on it, The Complete Guide to the Jakks Class Superstar Series. We go to Series 8. We go to Cowboy Bob Orton Jr. in Series 8 here. A beautiful, beautiful figure, of course. They do got the painted on, of course, his broken arm that just would never heal. You got the vest, you got the cowboy hat, you got the usual Ruthless Aggression style articulation on this one. But a guy that definitely deserved to be in the Classic Superstars line, and he was in it a few times over the years of the line, of course. But an amazing one, part of Series 8, and in a lot of circles, the peg warmer of Series 8 for Classic Superstars, as that was the line, or that was the series and the set of that series that really took Classic Superstars to the next level, as I explained in my book, and as I explained on all the videos every Tuesday on this YouTube channel, with Vader, Bruiser Brody, 2 Hulk Hogans in that set, an amazing set, one of the greatest sets of all time. Bob Orton was a part of that as well. Now, like I said, possibly the peg warmer, your mileage may vary there, but still iconic. Still remember seeing him with that wave out at retail, and a figure I've always enjoyed for what it is, and that's why he's coming in at number 3 in my top 5 list. We're on the home stretch. We're at the number 2 Bob Orton figure of all time, and this one was one of those childhood staples, at least for me and my friend group. And like I said earlier, this was a little bit before my time, and by the time I remember playing with this toy, he was long off WWF TV. It is, of course, Bob Orton Jr., LJN edition, and a very controversial, won't go so far as a conspiracy with Jesse Ventura on this one, but a lot of people say this wasn't actually Cowboy Bob Orton. It was supposed to be Bret Hitman Hart. I don't quite believe that. That seems a little bit crazy to me, but it doesn't look like Bret Hart, doesn't look like Cowboy Bob Orton. Who is this cowboy in just some trunks and a vest? He's got the fringe going on, so you know he's up to no good. He's probably got some drugs on him. Who knows? But very interesting figure. Not the best to play with either, but one of those ones that really bounced around. A little bit of a peg warmer, I guess, the LJN variety back in the day. But very, very iconic, and one of the things I think of when I close my eyes and I think of Cowboy Bob Orton Jr., as I do many a nights. You know it's true, Mark Summers from the couch. But I absolutely love this Bob Orton for what it represents and what it is. So it is a fun figure here. Maybe not the most iconic LJN. I think we could all agree there. But definitely one that stands out for Cowboy Bob Orton Jr. And that's why he comes in at number 2, which means there can only be one. What is it? Stay tuned. We've reached the number 1 spot, the number 1 Cowboy Bob Orton figure of all time. Once again, put your list in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this very YouTube channel. So there you go. But number 1, it's here, and we're going to the Mattel line once again. His most recent figure, I think by my math, and I double-checked it, and I had Todd McFarlane look over my work, but I believe this is his last figure. It is the Target exclusive Legend Series 13 2-in-1 Cowboy Bob Orton, and the 2-in-1 aspect brought this one home for me. Of course, pinless joints with the modern Mattel articulation going here. But of course, we remember his classic boxing match against Mr. T. And then you think of course, the Cowboy and his Cowboy regalia right here. Definitely worth picking up 2 of these. And I think I got the second one for like $5 on clearance, like a lot of us did. So there's warrants enough meat on the bone to have 2 versions here. This is truly the ultimate Cowboy Bob Orton figure at the end of the day, as you get his boxing and his cowboy look. So a fun one to have. Not going to set the world on fire. Once again, this isn't the Ultimate Warrior here, but if you're looking for a Cowboy Bob Orton figure, I think this is the defining one at this point with the 2-in-1 aspect and the modern articulation and all the bells and whistles here. You can't do much better than this Bob Orton, and that's why he's number 1 for me. So there it is. That's my Bob Orton list. Once again, put your list in the comments below. Check out Patreon for early access to this video. Plenty of other videos, glamour shots, you name it. It's all going down on the Patreon. And you do support the channel and all the content it brings. You can also support the channel at PetersonTees.com. Search Kyle Peterson. And don't forget social media, SirPaul64 on the X, the _Kyle_Peterson on Threads, and on Instagram. So for the Cowboy, I'm Kyle. See you guys all real soon.